The Saudi-led OPEC Plus recently announced major cuts in oil production. The decision by the group that includes Russia has worsened fears of a recession. The production cut announcement also brought the U.S.-Saudi relations to a new low. The U.S. President Joe Biden, while expressing disappointment at the move, said it's time for the United States to rethink its relationship with Saudi Arabia. Senior White House officials also reiterated that the United States is re-evaluating its relationship with Saudi Arabia. Washington's reaction stems from its situation at home. The production cut could see inflation soaring in the United States, just weeks ahead of the midterm elections. Moreover, the Biden administration has been pressing Saudi Arabia to produce more oil to compensate for inflation and global shortages caused by the war in Ukraine. So the United States is now weighing its options to punish Saudi Arabia. Let's now take a look at the options that the Biden administration is now exploring. Number one, passing the NOPEC bill. The White House said last week that the president would consult with Congress on additional tools and authorities to reduce OPEC's control over energy prices. This is widely interpreted as a threat to back the NOPEC bill, which could potentially spell the end of the OPEC cartel. The bill is meant to break oil prices from the grip of a few countries. How? Well, by exposing OPEC states to the United States antitrust laws. If passed, the bill would lift immunity from OPEC members and their oil companies and sue them for colluding to boost prices. But analysts say passing the bill would not be without consequences to the United States itself. There are concerns that removing a cap on production would sink oil prices so low that the United States oil industry could go out of business. Saudi Arabia has the lowest oil extraction costs in the world, so it can continue to make a profit at very low oil prices. Extraction costs in the United States are significantly higher. Considering the downsides, the American Petroleum Institute, which is a trade association for the oil and natural gas industry, has come out strongly against the bill. Even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce warned in May that the legislation would have zero impact at taming gasoline prices. So what else could United States do to punish Riyadh? Cutting U.S. arms sales to Saudi Arabia could be an option. Some senior U.S. officials have called for an immediate freeze in U.S.-Saudi relations. This includes putting an end to arms sales beyond what is needed to defend U.S. personnel. While a number of politicians showed their support, others expressed concern, saying it would only push Saudi Arabia further into the arms of Russia. Estimates say Saudi Arabia accounts for 24% of all U.S. arms sales. It would be detrimental for the United States' interests to lose such buyers. Hence, experts believe that a complete freeze of arms sales to Saudi Arabia is unlikely to materialize. But the kingdom might instead see other restrictions on the type of weapons sold. The other option, with Washington withdrawing troops from Saudi Arabia and the UAE, 3 democratic lawmakers last week introduced a bill for the same. The UAE hosts approximately 3,500 U.S. military personnel, and while the U.S. withdrew most of its troops from Saudi Arabia in 2003, it still provides substantial armed support. But a U.S. troop withdrawal is also unlikely. Experts say it would leave a vacuum in the region that could be filled by U.S. adversaries such as Iran, China, and Russia. And for more on this, we are being joined by Edward P. Joseph, a foreign policy analyst and a faculty of Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies in Washington, D.C. And also joining us is Ahmed Al-Ibrahim, political analyst and U.S.-Saudi relations expert from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Welcome to WION, gentlemen. Edward, I will start with you. Is a recession highly likely now following this decision to cut oil production, and what will be the significance of that?
Well, it's not clear that the oil production cut would produce the recession. Recession may be in the cards anyway, according to economists. But I can tell you that the anger in the United States over this decision by Saudi Arabia should not be underestimated. And I would emphasize this. It should not be only linked to this step. I think in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, they do not understand fully the perception of the kingdom, of the Saudi kingdom, as really not just unreliable in terms of a supplier and a partner, an unreliable strategic partner, but also somewhat of a rogue state. And I call your attention back to the actions of Congress when President Trump was in office, and the anger over the brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and the joint position of Republicans and Democrats alike. It was not any type of partisan position, and it was President Trump who then had to step in and protect MBS and Riyadh against Republicans and Democrats in Congress. And the anger over this, which to the perception in the United States is a stab in the back. Come on, for the Saudis to just say, oh, well, it's about our economy. That's completely naive. Everyone knows that economics and politics are linked.
Edward, hold on,
please.
Hold on to that thought, because we also
Please.
have a flip side to this discussion. Ahmed, let me bring you in at this moment. Listening to what Edward is saying, what will be the ramifications worldwide of this decision of the OPEC Plus?
It's already been established. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and greetings to you and to your guests and to your viewers. The ramifications already been there. The oil prices has been gone down 3.4%, and the LNG gas has been exported to Europe from the United States has went up 4 times. So this is kind of hypocrisy. If the OPEC Plus or Saudi Arabia is looking for the benefit of their decision and actually the benefit of the economy, and we already in short supply, projection of source supply. So the capacity, the OPEC Plus, they need to reserve some spare capacity. And this model that OPEC has been doing for decades and decades, it is very well put together. Instead of having a $300 US barrel or 4 times what the LNG is the United States selling to Europe, and it's not been discussed on the floor of the Congress, and the people in the United States and the media are not actually paying attention to it. Why everybody is looking at OPEC Plus and Saudi Arabia by taking a smart decision that actually when they start taking it, the prices of oil has went down 3.4%. So they actually have the intel data on what they are doing. OPEC Plus, Saudi Arabia has always been on the side, not only the United States, the whole world economy. So when they make a decision like that, it's actually not only benefiting the U.S. economy, because Saudi Arabia does not really work for the U.S. economy. It's trying to balance the whole world economy. The inflation is high. When the United States decided to raise interest rates from the Fed never actually called up Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia thought that this decision by the Fed is going to slow the economy in Saudi Arabia. It is what's better for the American people and the American government, and they made the decision. So why the hurdle? On the contrary, what the United States need to do is need to invest more in their security and energy plan, and stop basically banning everything that has to do with that, because it's kind of, again, hypocrisy. One day you tell us to, quit down the production of oil, and the other day you talk about environment.
Okay, Ahmed, you've made a point there. Let me go back to Edward, and listening to what Ahmed said, he actually did mention the benefits of this. Who will benefit in the long run in this part of the oil between Saudis and the Americans? And can Biden really punish the Saudis, Edward?
Those are 2 very important and distinct questions. In terms of who benefits, it's the Russians who benefit the most. And that's what's so disappointing here, is that the Saudis would take this step, that MBS would take this step after the meeting in July with President Biden, the famous meeting with the famous fist bump, where we know, of course, President Biden discussed that at that time the viewpoint on oil and how important it is to sustain production of oil, both geopolitically and for economics. And in terms of the impact on interest rates, it's inflation that drives the U.S., the Fed, to raise interest rates. So this argument is completely circular, that because of the Fed, now OPEC needs to raise production. That production will contribute to inflation, which will contribute to the Fed and the European Union Central Bank of raising their interest rates. So that argument doesn't wash. And third, the other argument that completely doesn't wash is that the U.S. needs to somehow focus on its own energy industry. The U.S. is energy independent, thankfully. The real impact here will be felt by the European Union, and that's what is missing here by the Saudis, why this is just so short-sighted. You know, politics matters, and the image and impression matters. And MBS is not out of the woods with just the fist bump with President Biden. There is, again, as I said, lingering anger and perception, very damaged across the political spectrum here in the United States and in the European Union. And this is where the vulnerability is, Eric. Yes, it's complicated to do those bills like the NOPEC bill and cutting arms sales or withdrawing U.S. troops. Yes, they each have drawbacks. But let's remember two things. On weapons, Russia does not look like a fantastic option anymore. So it's true. The Saudis are the number one market for U.S. arms, but those are the world's best arms, and they're highly sophisticated arms. And if the Saudis choose to go to American competitors like France or Europe, that's okay. That's still staying within the West.
Right.
And the concern is Russia, and why would the Saudis want to buy weapons from Russia when we see the result of their corrupt system that produces sub-quality weapons and requires a relationship with a completely unreliable government that is now going to be technologically constrained for
All right,
years.
Edward, you've made your point. Edward, you've made your point, and we are running out of time. But Ahmed, Saudi Arabia has said it's not indulging in oil politics, but it is willing to risk souring of ties with the United States. What's your view on that?
Well, definitely the United States is our greatest ally. We have so much in common, and also it's going to continue to be like that. I think the U.S. is benefiting from their strategic interests in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing. Well, there is nothing that Saudi Arabia is trying to buy weapons from Russia. On the contrary, yesterday MBS has endowed $400 million of our own money to Ukraine, and he called the president. We are not siding with Russia or Ukraine. We are siding with peace. Let's not forget that actually MBS has managed to release hostages from Russia, and two of those hostages are Americans. So all these kind of things, it does not give me any indication that Saudi Arabia is siding with anyone. Saudi Arabia is trying to be the sound of wisdom in order to bring all parties and stop war. War is ugly, and if the United States decided to, push Saudi Arabia away, it's unfortunate for us that to be happen. And this administration cannot talk to Saudi Arabia about oil prices right now since it's down, because they are the one who's going to make the decision that it's politicized. We don't want to enter into any internal conflicts within the United States. This is the decision of the taxpayers in the United States. But this administration, since they came to the White House, has been losing a lot and damaging a lot of relations around the world rather than actually fixing the relationship. Saudi Arabia have never bashed the United States when they side with the #1 terrorist country, Iran. We've never actually disclosed anything or gave any intention of that. So we don't expect, the fake media and the extreme left media to come and push Saudi Arabia and box Saudi Arabia with Russia. This is not going to happen. Nobody believes it. And the world is much a smaller place when the Western media thinks.
Gentlemen, we'll have to leave this discussion there. I've been talking to Ahmed and Edward. Gentlemen, thank you once again.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.